We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hassani.
I'm Lakeisha.
And I'm Roland.
And we are here to really spend some quality time with you this morning during this holiday season. Hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving. If you are in the United States, maybe you're an American in a different part of the world and you have taken the time to celebrate this holiday. Or if you're not, we're just glad to have you with us here this morning. We're answering your questions. Whatever your questions are, we want you to put them in the post or put them in the chat so that we can address them. And as we say, don't wait till halfway through the show before you drop your question in there, because we only have 30 minutes to unpack it. We want to give you every nook and cranny of our time. But before we get started, I always have to make this quick announcement. There's a lot that's happening in the month of December. We're just a couple of days away. And as you know, the Last Chance Weekend will be December the 9th through the 11th. We're excited about it. Here's your opportunity before the end of the year to take a deep dive approach, a comprehensive approach to the relationship and making it all that you desire for it to be. So register, just, reach out to the number at the bottom of the screen, 678-200-8996. So before we dive in, how was your Thanksgiving, folks?
My Thanksgiving was great. It was quiet. It was rainy. We're here in New Orleans, Louisiana, and we've just been enjoying it. Great food, of course, and it was really good. We're just happy to be back home for a little while, and we had a great time.
Roland, I'm feeling a certain type of way because I really feel like I should have gotten an invite to be in New Orleans with y'all, right? So I can have gumbo for Thanksgiving for the first time, because I know you had gumbo. I know you did. My Thanksgiving was great. It was low key, quiet. There was like no company, which was amazing because the house is normally very busy and loud and whatever. So it just was not. So I'm thankful because it was rest yesterday.
Our Thanksgiving was great. We traveled to Jersey. So, we've been house hopping. I think we've had about 5 different Thanksgiving meals. I'm ready to bust. I can't take it anymore. I'm about to go on a fast till Christmas to get my life and my body back. But it's been amazing just connecting with family and friends and just getting hugs and kisses and from people you haven't seen in a long time. So it's been great. And I'm hoping that everybody had a great Thanksgiving. But, one of the things that we have to deal with is you got those cousins, you got those aunties and uncles, you got those siblings that you haven't seen in a long time that as soon as you walk through the door, you roll in your eyes, you suck in your teeth. You just can't wait that this thing is over. Why are family relationships so much work and so much drama at times? I know that's one of the questions that people have often had every single year. How do I deal with my crazy family? Roland and I just did a topic on it a couple of days ago. So I think matter of fact, I don't know if Lakeisha, you were on it. Oh, you were? Okay, the 3 of us were on it. But it's something that is still real and prevalent. And I know people are dealing with right now, just the drama at the dining room table, right? How do you maintain? What are your thoughts, guys?
Well, it's crazy. I love social media, but social media is like the detriment to all family drama, right? Because everybody are celebrities back home, everybody, the who's who. And by the time you get to the kitchen table, by the time you guys come together, they still want to carry that on. And it's like, bruh, listen, little cousin, go sit down somewhere. I know who you are. Don't come in here thinking, you're all of that and a bag of chips with no dip. Really, go sit down somewhere, please. And we talked about it, that bougie auntie and that slick uncle, they want to just come in and regulate. They haven't seen you all year and they want to come in and act like, they are all of that. And it's just crazy because they don't have that maturity level to sit down and enjoy one another and not take the moment for granted. Everything has to be drama. If it's no drama, then it's no life, according to them. it has to be some liveliness going on, and their liveliness is drama for whatever reason.
But let me ask this question. I think this is a very good question. At first glance, you may say, "What?" But then upon deeper thought, it may be a legitimate question. Do you invite your ex to Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner? Lakeisha, what say you?
So had I been asked this question probably 5 years ago, the answer would have been absolutely not. You are not coming to dinner. However, today, absolutely, the ex can come to dinner. And the reason why the ex can come to dinner is because we share a child together. And so, for my son to be able to have both of his parents in the same room, getting along, no drama, that sends so many positive messages to him. And so, there's been so much resolution that has happened. There's just no bad blood as far as I know. There's none on my end anyway. So I think it can really help to bring families together, to show unity and solidarity, and that we can move past our feelings and mature and be able to occupy the same space at the same time in peace, and there be no conflict and no drama.
Yeah, I've said in times past, I've witnessed scenarios like that where, the former spouse, shared a child, and they love each other. They have great conversations. The new spouse and the former spouse, they're smoking cigar. Like there's genuine love and respect and appreciation. And I think based upon that relational dynamic, it can work. Obviously, if you're coming from another dynamic where there's drama and scandal and all types of things, it won't work. And so this is why it's important that we teach principles, but there's got to be proper application for those principles, because in one scenario, it can work phenomenally well. And that's what we all hope for. And others, you still need to put that work in. So you're still a work in process. But here's another
Yeah.
question that I want to get to. And this is something, and I want to speak to those couples to let you know that if this is your situation, we want you to seek us out, because we've had many people reach out to us looking for guidance on this particular topic. And it's one of an open marriage. What do you do when your spouse wants to open the marriage and you do not? Before we even go there, that's a real scenario. Sometimes it could be because, you know what? The sex is boring. Let's put some passion back into our relationship. Let's open it up. For others, it's you cheated on me and you forced me into an open relationship. And guess what? It's my turn. Other scenarios are couples come to us having already opened up the marriage,
Hmm.
and the level of pain is on a level beyond what
Yeah.
is typical for any other type of betrayal. And so they're looking for deep recovery. And I've even heard them say, "We've let the devil into our marriage. How do we get him out?" So there's a lot here. I want to hear from both of you. I want to start with Roland, but then I want to go to Lakeisha, because a lot of this has to do, quite frankly, with sex.
Yeah, so anytime you allow the devil to come in, per se, to your point, into your marriage that God ordained, for whatever reason, you've already opened a Pandora's box, to allow the detriment of your marriage not so much to fail, but to go in the wrong direction, obviously. And like you said, a lot of times we want to experiment with a God thing as opposed to experiencing God in a thing. And we tap into these things of the world, and we don't realize the spirit that we're bringing in, to that space, that sacred space of the union between husband and wife. And so when we go outside and bring in all of this unnecessary baggage, it makes the marriage so much harder. We heard of the word entanglement some years ago, right? And was, that was the cause of, this open marriage, this open relationship type of thing. And we have to realize how much damaging it is, both to your physical man, your spirit man, your emotions. You're all over the place. Now you're trying to share something that should be for one person, you and your spouse. And the jealousy kicks in. You done took jealousy to a 10 times rating of what it initially should have been, because jealousy in itself is bad. But now you have this competing factor. It's so many things, so many layers to this onion, right? That will make you cry, that it is just ridiculous. And so I think that we have to stay far away from even the idea of opening up a marriage, allowing others to come in, allowing us to open ourselves to soul ties that are not for us. Right? We're talking so much deeper than just surface. When you're talking about opening up your marriage, you're opening up to anything that is going to destroy it, or has the potential to destroy it, and it takes away the essence from what marriage is really about.
Without a shadow of a doubt. Now, Lakeisha, you've had firsthand interactions with several couples who have had this major crisis hit their marriage, the open marriage. We've done series on it, but you've worked with them directly as well as I. Walk us through this question: what do you think when a spouse wants to open their marriage?
So growing up, my parents would always tell me, and of course in the church, they will always say that you need to stay a virgin, right? Don't have sex until you get married. And I just thought it was like them just trying to control me and trying to control us and what we do and whatever, trying to scare us into submission. But I understand in my adulthood that what it really is about is us learning our bodies, discovering ourselves together, figuring out how we can literally work together to achieve pleasure and to take our relationship to another level. When you have experience already coming into the marriage, you're comparing your spouse to what you've already had, and they can never live up to what you previously had. So for me, when you open your marriage, literally what you're doing now is taking those experiences that you're having with another person and trying to get your spouse to live up to whatever that other experience was, and it will never happen. So now you're creating, as Roland said, all of these insecurities. You're making your spouse feel as if they're insufficient, they are not good enough, they will never measure up, literally. That has happened where there's been a third party come along and the man was more endowed than the husband. And so now the husband is thinking about all of his, lack of better word, shortcomings. And he will never be in this place where he feels secure enough to please his wife, which is just not where you want to be. Everything starts in our mind. Everything begins in our mind. So if we start fantasizing, which I've had couples do, fantasizing about a third party, the fantasizing wasn't enough. Now we got to actually act on it, and we bring in another person. Even once the act is done, we're still fantasizing about the other person, and it's never enough. You'll never be satisfied.
Yeah,
And it really just wreaks havoc on your relationship. And it's so hard to come back from that.
yeah.
So me, keep it closed. As for me
And,
and my house, we will have a closed marriage.
and you spoke about anatomy, and that's a struggle and a vulnerability and an insecurity that men and women can have.
Yes.
Oh, so you like bigger breasts, or you like a thinner frame, or you like a taller woman. I'm too
Mhm.
short, right? It creates all types of insecurities because there's a comparison. But beyond even the anatomy, then we're dealing with skill set, right?
Yep.
So if someone is more experienced or into that lifestyle, they've probably been exposed to more things, more creative things, and now it's a comparison of the difference between vanilla, right,
Yep.
which is plain and common and normal, and then all of the other things, and then you
Right.
begin to create a desire for those other things, and your spouse can't do what. It's just a big old mess. And then the
Yes.
other element that we have to talk about, it is very difficult to compare a committed relationship sexual experience with an affair or an open marriage. There's a level of passion and excitement and naughtiness and thrill. There's a different energy.
Yes.
It's like the difference between I'm making love to my wife, but I don't have an emotional connection to her, so I'm willing to do things with her or with him that I wouldn't do. So it's just an unfair comparison, and it leads to so many kind of problems that we've seen time and time again. Anyway, what a great topic, the day after Thanksgiving. But anyway, listen, you're watching Ask the Experts. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. We see questions that are in the comments. We'll be right there. Stay tuned. When 45 men from all walks of life come together in one place for one purpose, there is a collective harmony that produces an amplification of power that leaves an impact on the lives of men that cannot be erased. A fraternity of legendary men, all at the tipping point, on the precipice of greatness, meeting for one weekend to turn their worlds inside out. For the first time ever, the Foundry experience. Not an event, not a seminar or retreat, but an opportunity to come face to face with the man you were always destined to be. If you want a life that's better than the one that you are living, meet us January 2023 for the Foundry experience. Well, good morning, guys. Welcome back to Ask the Experts. We're answering your questions. It's Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. It's a quiet morning because people are probably hungover. They drank too much. They ate too much. They're on their third sleep. But we are here because we're committed to the process. Let me go to David Page. Good to see you, brother. He says 2 is a couple, 3 is a crowd. That is a fact. That was a good show back in the day, too, if you don't remember that show. But I totally agree with you. You should completely close that relationship up and leave no room for anyone else.
Wait, hold on. There is a term. I know you've heard it, Hassani, because you know everything, right? Thruple. Like that's a thing, right? And I'm just like, listen, I told my husband, I'm enough to deal with. Like you want to add on to the stress that you already have of trying to manage and maintain all of this. One is enough.
There is a world of sexuality beyond what the average person. I mean, there's terminology you have to learn.
Yep.
There's so much, and no judgment, but at the end of the day, people think that this new way is the best way, and it's celebrated and glorified, and there's documentaries and movies and all types of people talking about it. But there's so much pain on the other side of that, and we see that every single day. So don't get caught up in the hype. And I think it leads to this question that I'm about to ask, based upon what we're saying, people's motivation of wanting to open it up because we've lost the passion and the fire. Well, Slim1515 says, did your mama name you that? Slim1515 says, good morning, experts. How do you get the fire back once an affair has happened? Which is a legitimate question. this is the place that people find themselves at. I will start off by saying I would love to hear from all of you that first you got to go through a recovery process. You can't flip a switch and then we go from darkness into the light and all is well now. If you haven't gone through a process, it's going to be very difficult to get that fire back. But let's assume you have. Let's assume you've gone through the process because you've showed up at a last chance weekend. You've done some counseling. You've done all the work. Okay, so we're no longer in a deficit. We have a firm foundation. How do we bring the fire back, Roland and Lakeisha?
Well, the best way to do is one, to make up in your mind that you want the fire back, right? You can talk to your spouse and you can literally reframe what you want your marriage to look like. What does bringing the fire back looks like, right? And once you are on one accord to rebuild this car, if you would, that has been demolished or that has come in a box that you have to put together, right? You can literally paint it the way that you want it to be painted. You can make modifications to it. The things that you know didn't work before, you can make sure that they work now and work even better. You have to take out the time and look at what you want, where you were, where you are now, but where you want to go. And when you have the idea of that, then you can start doing things. You have to learn one another. You have to be show intention, right, to make sure you want to share the same interests with one another. And when you do that, then you start seeing that flicker. You start seeing those sparks when you're looking into each other's eyes again, because now you've taken out the time to reevaluate, one, who you are as an individual and who your wife or your husband is, and you can look at each other differently now because you have a different perspective on what you want your marriage to look like, and then you could proceed from that point.
Excellent point, Roland. Making the decision that you wanted. That sounds so simple, but let me tell you something.
Hmm.
Most people don't have what they want in life because they haven't made a decision. Lakeisha, jump in, and then we have other questions.
Yeah, so for me, I it's very clear to me there won't be a fire or there won't be a spark if I'm sleeping with the enemy or if I'm sleeping with a complete stranger. And often that's what happens after there's been an affair. You feel as if your spouse literally is the enemy. You are not for me because you hurt me. How could you possibly think that I can trust you in that way after you've hurt me to this degree? So literally, I'm not sleeping with the enemy. Like, I want to be sleeping with someone who I feel connected to and that I trust and that has care and concern for me as much as I have care and concern for them. So yes to the recovery process. Yes to the mentality that yes, absolutely, we want something better, but actually going through and doing the work. You literally are starting at ground zero after infidelity because the person, they feel as if they don't even know you. And that's what I'm saying. You're a stranger. So people have a very difficult time opening themselves up, and having sex with someone is the most vulnerable you will ever be. Right. So they have a very difficult time being open and vulnerable with someone who they do not trust and that they feel as if they don't know.
All right, a lot more questions. We want to get some quick answers, so let's do this round robin. Any coming back from finding out my husband has been seeing escorts for the past 12 years, strip clubs before and after work? I just can't get the images out of my head. Talk about comparisons. Who wants to weigh in?
Well, definitely, listen, when you talk about comparison, it sounds like an addiction of some sort. It sounds like there is a problem that needs to be addressed. And in comparison to Lakeisha's point earlier, you cannot compare, this buffet of stuff, right? Compared to a meal that has been laid out for you at your home. And because what happens is the stuff that's out in the street, out in the world, out in the strip clubs, out in, with these escorts and stuff like that, is we already know that is not right. We already know that it's of the devil, if you would, to put it in layman's term, right? But to say that, he's doing this before work, after work, escorts and different things like that, you will never be satisfied when you're doing it the wrong way. Enough is never enough. And that's what it sounds like is happening. And we have to come, and you need to call and you need to reach out to us so that we can help you with these issues of feeling unfulfilled and bring the spark back to your own marriage so that you can have the excitement that you keep looking for outside of the home and you can have it inside of your own bedroom.
So to Roland's point, I believe that you can make it back, but it requires a lot of work. So number one, to his point, you need to do some couples counseling, but your husband has to get his own individual work done as well. It does sound like an addiction. There seems to be a preoccupation with sexualizing women and the fascination that he gets from that. So in terms of the four categories of an affair, this would fit into sexual compulsion, if you will. And so he needs to go through his own healing work. And I wouldn't move forward in the relationship until he made a decision that he was going to do that work, because otherwise you're signing up for more of the same. And who wants more of the same? So things will always be the same if you don't do anything to address them. Let's go to Nikki. I want you to weigh in on this, Lakeisha. Just found out about an affair that happened about a year ago, and it really crushed me. He does not he does not work towards working on us, but says that he's sorry and God is working on him. What advice can you give?
So, first of all, if I'm seeing this correctly, it looks like your profile says I can do everything through Christ who strengthens me. That's the first answer right there. There is nothing impossible for God. And the second thing is, Nikki, really you have to begin to work on yourself. Remember, we can't control anything that anybody else does. The only person we can control is us. So I would say reach out, get help, get support for yourself. And ultimately, as you begin to change and as you're praying for your spouse, ultimately what typically happens, what we see is this: if the spouse is serious about resolving the marriage, working on the issues, they will come around and they will get on board. But you can't browbeat him over the head with you need to do this, you need to do that. Work on yourself, focus on yourself right now so that you can control your own mental and emotional and spiritual health, and be praying for your spouse. I mean, but tell them we're here. Like, we're here to support the two of you. You need to be at Last Chance Weekend. It's really what you need to do for December. But if he won't come, work on you, sis.
I agree 1000%. Work on you, and that will motivate him prayerfully to do something as well and come on board. You know, I think she may be alluding to using God as an excuse and as a way to avoid actually doing the work. Yeah, God
Mm-hmm.
is working on me, and I'm sorry. What more do you want me to say? No, it's what I want you to do, Joker. So if you truly want him to get on board, you have to initiate the process. And when you do that, things will begin to change. Ben, good to see you this morning, brother. He says, "Good morning from Nashville. I'm the unfaithful. Is it wrong to comply with sex when my betrayed initiates? I'm not there, but my spouse is. The more I give, it's killing my soul. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't want to further destroy her self esteem. Good question prior. Anatomy is difficult for me to overcome." Okay. Who wants to weigh in on this?
So, Ben, here's the thing. The reality is this: from a biblical standpoint, your body don't belong to you, just like her body don't belong to her. So if your spouse is saying she wants it, you should be giving it to her, because I know for a fact your expectation of her was whenever you want it, it was supposed to be sex on demand. So you cannot ask for something that you are not willing to give, because you are on the back end of infidelity. Now some things have shifted and changed for you, but she's still in the mode of we're having sex, and she's accustomed to you being the one that is the aggressor. And because you've backed up, now she's stepping up and trying to ensure that you guys are still having a very rich and fulfilling sex life. So I understand you don't want to hurt her feelings, you don't want to destroy her self-esteem. It's already been destroyed. You need to be honest with her. That's the truth. If you're not enjoying it, you need to tell her why. And you guys, you can work on that. But that sex is not your issue. It's so much deeper than that. And you know that. Everything else that's going on that you guys have not resolved and healed is the reason why sex is not where you would like it to be right now. We already told you what you need to do. Will we
Very
see you in January?
We're waiting for that response. We're waiting for that response. Let's
Right,
go.
right.
I'm sorry. Let's go to our final question because we're running out of time. Actually, it was sent to me. What do you do when a spouse doesn't help around the house? No help during Thanksgiving, and they fear they won't help for Christmas. Wow. So we're talking about domestic support, which is an emotional need that many people have in a relationship, but the brother just won't show up and help out, which puts all of the duty and the responsibility and the obligation on one
Or the
spouse
sister, or the
or the
sister.
sister. I'm just reading the question.
Yeah.
I assumed there was a man, but you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right. Because some of these women, y'all don't know how to sweep. You don't know how to fold no clothes. You can't. You burn biscuits. Like,
Well, he didn't marry me for my cooking.
so what do? This is because at the end of the day, like the honeymoon only lasts for so long, but now we have to do life together, and this is how we show up as partners in a relationship. So what do, Roland?
Listen, I found joy, in serving, and my passion is to serve, right? But if I could serve other people outside of my home and can't serve inside the home, that's a problem. And when I tapped into understanding the partnership of being able to do my part at home, it just makes life so much better, right? A happy spouse makes a happy house, and if whatever I can do to help, I'm willing to do to make sure I do my part. And it doesn't take away from your manhood. It doesn't take away from who you are. It doesn't take away, you're not going to make any less money or more money because you helped out at the home. Nobody's not going to look at you side-eyed if you help. But the problem comes when we think that everything should be structured in a way that I'm supposed to do this and you're supposed to do that. And that's just the way that it is. No, Joker, if you eat, you ought to be able to sweep, right? If you cook, you ought to be able to wash the dish or put it in the dishwasher at least, right? But and stop. We have to move away from just picking and choosing what we want out of our marriage and just be all in to give into the marriage. And when we do that, life will be so much better for both of us.
Lakeisha, close this out.
Listen, a man who done work doesn't eat. And so that for me, that's eating, that's working inside and outside the house. So I'm saying you do it not because of you're questioning your manhood, which is a great point, Roland, because that is some of it for some men, but you do it because you love and you care about your spouse. And you are a team. And that means that we're going to work together to accomplish the goals. And that means sacrifice. And so sometimes you have to do things that you don't want to do. You don't think your spouse don't want to do some things sometimes that you ask them to do. So it's a team. It's all about working together.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you. It is the day after Thanksgiving. We want you to enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hope you got something out of today's session. Love you all, and we will see you on Monday morning. Take care.